All right, guys, let's talk about Jurassic World Rebirth. All right, so I finally saw the movie last night. I was traveling for July 4th. I tried to see it Wednesday and Thursday. There were no tickets available, so I think this movie will hit $1 billion. But let me just get right into my non-spoiler thoughts. This was a perfectly competent movie, perfectly, I would say, average movie, exactly what I was expecting, unfortunately. Nothing really original, nothing really new. Nothing really stands out in terms of stuff I hate. I think the performances were good. I had some issues with Scarlett Johansson. I'll get into that next. But overall thoughts, this movie for me was a lot like Jurassic Park 3. I think is the most similar comparison to this movie. Is it better or worse than 3? I think it's pretty close. Maybe 3 is a little bit better just because that's a Spielberg-made movie and it has Sam Neill. But this movie, I thought Jonathan Bailey was really good. Mahershala Ali was really good. Obviously, he did this movie because Blade was canceled, and you can honestly tell because he's in great shape in this movie. He looks like he's in superhero shape, and he really got all of the heroic moments. In terms of Scarlett Johansson, who I'm a big fan of, I mean, I've been watching her since Home Alone 3 when she was the older sister, obviously through the MCU. I've always loved her as Black Widow. I was kind of surprised I wasn't really digging her in this movie. She wasn't bad, but, her character was like a Black Ops kind of agent, basically similar to Black Widow. And it was very surprising how I totally believe her as Black Widow, but for some reason I wasn't really buying her in this role. And one of the things that they did I thought was a big mistake. I know it sounds a little nitpicky, but they have her carrying a gigantic gun in the beginning of the movie on that boat scene. And Scarlett Johansson for almost 10 years was using a handgun in the MCU and honestly got really good at it. I mean, if you look at the Avengers Endgame trailer, how many times did we see her reloading that pistol? So I thought that was honestly a mistake. It really makes no sense to have someone carrying a pistol against a dinosaur, I understand. But I feel like that was a waste of her skills to not... At the end of the movie, she kind of goes back into using a pistol and it looks way better. It looked kind of wonky with her using the larger gun. But yeah, that was kind of my overall take on her performance. Now let's get into spoilers, so spoiler warning, do not move forward if you do not want the movie spoiled. The plot of this movie is very generic, obviously going to another island. They're looking to extract DNA. Scarlett Johansson gets hired by Rupert Friend, who was in the Obi-Wan show, as you might know him, as the head inquisitor, and he works for a big pharma company. They're looking to get dino blood from 3 of the main dinosaurs, the Monosaurus, who's in the water, and then the 2 other ones. And basically they want to make, vaccines and, things like that to make a bunch of money. They offer Scarlett Johansson $10 million. She goes and gets Mahershala Ali, who's a captain of a boat, and they go to this island. Now, a big problem with the movie I have is that obviously this family comes in, classic, just I rolled my biggest eye roll scene ever. When this family comes in, this is going to be a huge part of the movie. It's a dad, his 2 young daughters, a younger daughter, and then a teenage daughter, and then the teenage daughter's boyfriend. And the dad is, the dad is honestly a good actor. I think he's in Lincoln Lawyer, so he was pretty good. He reminds me of Pedro Pascal a little bit. But it just seems like such a boardroom decision, like such a shoehorned in thing, like, oh, let's have a family in there. Eventually the younger daughter finds a young Triceratops, which she keeps in her bag. So that's obviously going to sell a bunch of toys. And I know that's the goal, but this family plot I don't really think was needed. It wasn't terrible, but if, the entire family makes it out. The douchey stoner boyfriend gets a redemption arc. And they're kind of the survivors, along with Mahershala Ali, along with Scarlett Johansson, along with Jonathan Bailey, the main characters. Rupert Friend doesn't make it. He kind of gets the violent death at the end with I'm not even sure, but I guess I'll go to this now, the main dinosaur of the movie. So the movie starts out with kind of a security thing gone wrong, a Snickers wrapper, which I know some people are going to hate. This is reminiscent of the rat in Avengers Endgame, which some people didn't like, starting the whole thing. And basically they have been, cloning dinosaurs or mixed breeding dinosaurs. And this looks almost like a Rancor from Star Wars, a Rancor mixed with, maybe an alien, a xenomorph, I should say, but really like Rancor-esque. Didn't love it. I think the Indominus Rex from Jurassic World is better. But but that was kind of the main dinosaur, and so that entire lab kind of, everyone gets killed in that lab. Eventually, it goes kind of not under the water, but it kind of, doesn't get used anymore, goes out of business, and this is the island that they're going to. In terms of plots I'd want to see, from the franchise going forward, I think you can take a lot of inspiration from Planet of the Apes. I think you can take inspiration from Castaway, which I've seen online. You just have one person kind of surviving on their own on the island. And then third thing is just have dinosaurs only. Have a movie with only dinosaurs, reminiscent of, The Lion King, how they kind of did that live action, but with dinosaurs. I think that has a lot of potential. Just have absolutely no humans, have no words. I know they're never going to do this, but I'd like to see them try. Overall, it was a fun time at the movies. It wasn't a bad movie. Just kind of as a franchise that I love, I'm kind of wishing that they take a little bit more chances. It's obviously tough to do that, when you have $1 billion just lined up for playing it safe. So this is very, very reminiscent of The Force Awakens. Again, I don't think as bad because I think with Star Wars, there's a lot more implications with lore and whatnot. But I think there's a lot more stuff that they can do, and I think they should hire a director to take a little bit more of a risk in the second movie. I'm not really sure how many more times they could go back to the well. I'm not really sure what they can, unless they take a risk next, I'm not sure if there's another generic movie for them to make. Again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Jurassic could just be the summer movie. Maybe people are just totally happy spending, $15, $20 going to a Jurassic movie and don't really care and don't really want a good plot. I don't say good plot, but a deeper plot. So that's kind of my review of the movie. I'm trying to think of other spoiler points. I mean, the deaths in this movie aren't telegraphed, but the characters that are going to die. There's a lot of characters that exist just to die, especially when they get to the island and you make it onto the island. You're like, okay, this person is definitely not making it to the end. So I honestly kind of like that. It reminds me of 1980s horror movies, like Friday the 13th, Halloween, where they have really telegraphed deaths. So that's my review of the movie. I think I'd give it an 80 out of 100, but certainly not, an amazing movie. But I'll say the last point is, perhaps people are romanticizing it a bit because people, like I just complained about this family. But to be honest, even the original movie, I thought the kids in the original Jurassic Park are two of the most annoying kids ever in movies. And I know they're supposed to be really scared because they're obviously being attacked by dinosaurs, but I'll just never forget the scene where she turns the flashlight on at the T-Rex and is flashing at the T-Rex, one of the dumbest things that anyone's ever done in a movie, ever. So yeah, that's my review of Jurassic World. I'd definitely go see it if you're a fan of this franchise. Maybe my view of it's different because I watch all the movies for this channel, and I'm just a completionist in general, so I like seeing, all of the things in the franchise. I'm going to do a rankings of the franchise next. I just got to put my rankings together. It's honestly a little tough because so many of the movies really fall in the middle for me, other than the first one. Yeah.